Hello, and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL, the National Ice Hockey League. And it's been another jam-packed week full of signings. So we're going to talk about them. And I'm also interviewing Dylan Lipsey tomorrow. So he should be the interview on this episode. So yeah, hopefully we'll add that in as well. Because Charlie, I think you're away tomorrow, so it'll just be me talking to him, but we'll talk to him about the new Wildcats 2 setup, which will be good. But yeah, let's move on to the big side. Actually, Dan, you doing all right? Sorry, I didn't ask you.
Yeah, I'm doing all good, mate, as
Yeah.
always.
England have just won 1-0. It wasn't the greatest performance, but we got the job done. Charlie, anything to say on that? I know you've had a couple Coronas.
I'm good, mate.
Right. Let's get on to the signings and the biggest one. We had the news that Jake Witkowski was going to be going. I think a lot of us predicted that. And then by the time it come around, I think just a few days before a lot of people saw this one come in, Matt Bissonnette has signed for the Leeds Knights. It's not a bad little signing, is it? It's not bad at all. Jake Witkowski, though, firstly, Dan, is he going to come back halfway through the season?
Well, I mean, you wouldn't think he would, but from past seasons, yes, he will.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think we'll see him again for Leeds. I think
No.
he's done it now. I think he's come back. He's shown that he's class. And I think the imports which they're going to go with are going to be for the whole season. So I don't think he'll need to come back unless anything major happens. Charlie, Jake Witkowski. What are Leeds going to miss? With Jake Witkowski not being in the team.
Not much because I got this in it.
No, go on. What are they going to miss?
I don't know. Yeah,
Because
it is
he
a
is.
lot.
I think he's very, very underrated, and I think we saw how much Leeds missed him last season to when he come back in. His point production was ridiculous, and we actually said this. We were debating about top lines and second lines not getting as much points, but he played on second line throughout the whole season, and he still got a stupid amount of points. He got 41 points in 20 games playing on that second line, and I think that just speaks levels of the player he is.
Yeah, he's a good player. There's not much to say really. He came from NCAA. He's a good
He's a
player.
good skater,
Yeah, he's
definitely.
got good stick
Got
handling.
good hands, yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of his two-way game. Maybe I'm not seeing it, but yeah, point score and production wise, he's one of the top players in the league. But yeah, he always joined halfway through the season.
Yeah, well, you talk about two-way. Matt Bissonnette is probably one of the best two-way forwards we've seen. The penalty killing, obviously, he did it all for Sheffield. And we were just speaking off camera there, Dan. The biggest debate we've had is will Matt Bissonnette firstly have his most points he's ever got in an NHL season, and will he break 90? Because I believe that he can. But it is actually quite hard to break that amount of points in the Leeds team as we saw last season. But it is a fantastic signing, isn't it, Dan? Like that is ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%. You know what you're getting. That's another thing we were saying, obviously, with the imports. He's been around the league.
Yeah.
You know what he's gonna do. Which is another reason why I don't think they'll get replaced with Witkowski
Yeah.
because obviously they've shown what they can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a perfect player, really. Just put in between whoever they have, Brown, Wacer, any of them. They'll just be perfect with him. He's just one of them guys that will just fit into any squad, any line, and yeah, he's just a perfect signing for them.
Yeah, Charlie. What line do you think that Ryan Aldridge is going to play him with Brown? Because the guy which we'll talk about in a sec, who they've re-signed, Barron, he played the majority of the season with Brown. So it'll be interesting to see where Aldridge uses him in the lineup because he could easily whack him with Matt Cowlett as well.
Yeah, they switch throughout. Hayward's not signed up yet, so that may change what
Yeah.
they're going to do. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's a good pickup for any team in the league, and probably the one team you probably didn't want to get in was Leeds, and they did. So yeah, they're very very good at hockey, and adding a player like Bissonnette, who's I think he's won 3 trophies with Sheffield. He's done well in the elite league. I believe he works in the UK.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be there for just one year.
No. He's 32 years old. He seems like he's settled in the National League. It's just such a good signing, and it's so frustrating as fans of Swindon to see Leeds arguably keep the best players they've got and get even more talent into the team. And it's just going to be so hard for any team to try and replicate it. We talked about Matt Barron. He's also back, Dan. What did you like about his game last season? Because I think he's another player who kind of went under the radar in that Leeds attack.
Yeah, 100%. He did go under the radar a lot. I think he has a really good pass. He drives the net really well. He's just always that guy in the right position. I
Yeah.
think me and Charlie, we were at a MK Leeds game, one game in the season, and they always just used to pass into the crease, and it always used to be either Barron or Howlett that were getting the pass in there.
Yeah.
And he's one of the guys that will play to a system. Um, but yeah, he's just you don't really see what he does, but he just ends up doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, I think because people don't talk about him as much because of Brown, because of Howlett, because of Hayward. Again, he goes a bit under the radar, but he obviously seems like he's fitting really well with the team. I think that's another thing. To be part of Leeds, you have to be part of that team and the chemistry between all the players, and he's around the same age as them as well. So it just fits well. And do you know what I can't wait for? The Baron costumes at the playoffs, the Top Gun costumes, because I think it was so cool. So yeah, we'll get to see them at Coventry next season. I hope those fans have saved them for next playoffs as well. Let's move away from Leeds then, because it feels like we're just talking about Leeds loads. Let's go to the top one I've got, which is Ryan Lee, signed another year for the Telford Tigers. Again, we don't need to speak on him too much because I think we've talked about him a lot. But he's another young lad who's going to be playing under Tom Watkins, and we know how that turns out, don't we, Charlie?
Yeah, he's a good talent. He's got a lot of developing to do. He really broke into the National League last year, did well, and I think this will be a big year for him to play third pair defense, I guess, and
Yeah.
just to develop his game and become another one of them Tom Watkins staple pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one which is, I think, key to Tom Watkins, in especially last season, is Jake Price. I thought he was actually. I keep saying it again. He's one which fans don't really recognise too much, but he is so important to the team, Dan.
Yeah, he is. Any D man is important nowadays. They're so hard to come by, and when you keep guys like that, it's just so important for a team. And I'm sure both of them are going to improve next season as well. They're going to be wanting to grow on last season, and I think Jake Price had a few injuries through the season, so
Yeah.
I'm sure he's hoping to sort of have a few less injuries and start growing on his game a lot more.
I like what Telford are doing. They're re-signing a lot of those top point scorers. They brought in Adam Harding. They've brought in Landsbergs. I think Tom Watkins is doing it right, and he knows that he's got a lot of young players which he can bring up. Oh, the biggest news probably out of them all, actually. Obviously we mentioned last week Raiders are going to be staying in the league, which is really good news. They have got the new ownership, and they announced their first sign-in, which is the player coach, which is another player coach in the league, which is really interesting. Adam Leishram, Charlie, and he was their standout player last season. I know you love TJ, but Leishram was their top point scorer. It's good, I think, for Raiders fans. It's good to know that they've kept their best player in the team.
Yeah, he's a huge signing for them. I heard rumors he was going to leave,
Yeah.
but he hasn't left. He's actually become the coach, so that's kind of funny. But no, I generally think that's a huge signing for them because not only does he have, well, I'd like to think he has stacks of imports in his contact list who he can
Yeah,
get over, who will be absolute studs. He casually just came off the back of like a 95-point season.
yeah,
I'm sure he's going to sign TJ. Hopefully, I'd love to see TJ back in a Raiders shirt. I generally don't know anything, and an import just to play on a top line together and absolutely just stud out.
yeah,
So yeah, I think it's gonna be a tough year for him. But I think that's the best way Raiders could have started. And I actually think going a new direction with a new coach in the long term could be a positive for Romford. Canadian coach, he's a very good player, and I think he proved a lot of MK fans wrong. when he left and he went to Romford and he took a year out. He kind of played some games, but last season I think he proved a lot of people that he isn't some mess about average U Sports player. He's a top player who can get probably 100 points if he plays a very good season in the National League. And I think if he can retain a couple of that Romford team, maybe bring in a couple young talented players and bring in some stacked imports, I think Romford can get rolling. And I don't think they're going to be great this year, say it how it is, but I think they'll be hard to play at home.
Yeah. A few exits. There's been 3 announced this week on top of obviously Connolly, who's left their previous coach. And they're quite big ones. Norcliffe was the first one to be announced that he won't be staying. I think that's a big sentiment which they are going to lose. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Will he go down to the NIHL 1? Will he sign for another NIHL team? I personally think, just like Connolly, he could easily play in this level still for another team. You've got Zach Milton, again, a huge piece to Raiders. He's got his opportunity at the Storm, and that's quite interesting, Dan. Obviously, he was at Guildford on a 2-way. He didn't really get his opportunity, did he, at Guildford? He's now gone to Manchester, who have given some opportunities out. We've seen the likes of Gulliver. We've seen the likes of Soldier. He's gone to the Storm with Owen Griffiths as well, who Milton will also know from Guildford. So Manchester are obviously gone with Griffiths and Milton, and it looks like Milton so far, and nothing's been announced, has got that full-time elite. So that's a good opportunity for him, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. He's going to be wanting to prove a point. Obviously, it's quite big that he's got that full-time contract. Obviously, like we say, we haven't heard anything about it yet. But it's going to be a big year for him, I think. It's getting to his career now where he was at Guildford. He's on a 2-way with Guildford for 2 seasons, got that full-time with the Storm. He's sort of got to show this season what he can do. And he needs to sort of get that spot in an elite league team if he wants to do it. You know what I mean? I think this season's quite important for him as on his career and for his future.
Yeah, I hope it works out for him. Any NIHL player, Sam Talbot, even though they were MK players and we see them as a bit of a rivalry, I really want them to do well in the elite league. Sam Talbot, Norris, Milton, I all want them to do really well.
Especially he's a Basingstoke player as well. So got to back the boys.
He played for the Bison in that tough year. And the final one was Winterbank. Now he's a young keeper. I think he'll get an opportunity either as a backup in this league, but I think an NIHL 1 team, especially with the NIHL 1 getting quite competitive, I actually think for young goalies, me and you were saying it, Charlie, the other day, they've got some decent little keepers in that league, don't they? They've got Lauday, who's obviously played National League. They got Milton, who's I think is going to sign back with Streatham. And then the Wildcats goalie have got a couple of young studs as well. So I think it could be interesting to see where Winterbank goes. Raiders fans and us fans will be itching to see who they sign next because they've got quite a few gaps to fill from players leaving the roster. And I agree with you, Charlie. I think it might be quite a tough season next season, but it's all part of the Leysham rebuild, isn't it?
Yeah. I just think trust the process. Just let the season go through. But they didn't have Norcliffe and Milton the season they made it to playoff final.
Good point. Yeah.
They did have Connolly, and Connolly will be a loss, but you just don't know. Maybe they bring in a Brit which you don't expect. I think the biggest loss for them, I know it sounds weird, I actually think losing Brindley Caps was a really big loss.
No, I agree.
I think he would have had a big breakout year this year.
Yeah.
I think he would have really took I think he could have been around like 30, 40 points in the National League if he had been given a good opportunity. So I think losing him was big. But if they can keep hold of a player like Jake Sylvester, TJ Anderson, and I don't know if they've got another big top 6 Brit.
I think Ralph is quite big to keep in D.
If they can keep hold of some of their core players and they can just put in some good imports, I think Raiders can still stay competitive. But if they don't, I think it is going to be a tough year. But I think Raiders fans, I think they seemed positive about the new ownership and the new coach.
I think
seem very positive online. So
whenever you get put in a position as a fan where your team could possibly not play, I think once you then know that you are going to be playing, I think it's more of a relief. And Dan, I think I'll come to you. Would you feel the same if Basingstoke were to come back? It would more be accepting that, yeah, it is going to be a bit of a rebuild, but you're happy just to see that your team's actually going to be participating this season.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, they know what's gone on. They know it's going to be tough, but yeah, you've got a team to watch every weekend. You know what I mean? You've got a
Yeah.
team to follow. You got the passion. You've got something to watch. So yeah, it's going to be tough. But at the end of the day, if you support the team, you support them through the hard and the good times. So
Yeah. A goalie who has left, and this causes a lot of question on whether a certain team will go for an important netting. Now, Griffin Priest has joined the Five Flyers as the backup goalkeeper. Obviously, the Five Flyers backup, I think, left. He's still not been picked up, so it'll be interesting to see if he goes to a Scottish team or whether he possibly comes to NIHL. But good luck to Griffin Priest again. He's another NIHL player. I thought he looked pretty good in a lot of the games, especially at the start of the season. At the end of the season, he struggled a bit, but I think he could be a decent backup in the Elite League. And that begs the question, Charlie. RB is going to be the second team to go down with the import netty route. And I think I know what your answer is going to be in terms of should they.
Yeah, they should. Get an import netty.
Dan, anything to add to that?
yeah, mate, if they can do it, if they've got the funds to do it, why not? 100%.
I
I
remember
mean,
they
it's an important position. You know what I mean?
I remember they were going to get an import netty in, and they actually got it all signed and stuff, and they got so much backlash from it, and then it didn't actually go through, did it? And then they ended up signing Vitali. So be interesting to see if they can, if Goodbye and Tate brings in that import netty. So yeah, interesting. I'd be excited as a Bees fan because I'm not even a Phantoms fan, and I'm excited to see what their import netty is going to be like next season. Swindon wise. They had a couple signings this week. First, Luke Johnson, again, another player of last season who I thought had a decent season on that third line. His first full season at D, and I thought he did a decent job. And I actually think, I know Banners on the Wall said they prefer him in a forward. After watching him for a full season, and Dan as well, I'd like to hear what you'd say, and Charlie, I actually think he's a comfortable D man, but he can also play a depthy role in forward. But I don't know. Charlie, I'll come to you first. What do you make of Luke Johnson? Obviously, I think it's a good re-signing for Swindon.
Yeah, he's I like the idea of potentially signing a seventh D man, whether that's a very good D man or just a depth D man, and using Luke Johnson as a piece who can. I like him as a forward when he's defensive and his role's just to shut down better lines and
Yeah.
be a penalty kill guy. But as a D man, I think he's a decent third pair D in this league. I
Yeah.
think he improved last year. I think he's got a bit more to show. And I think he's developing as a D man. And I think he was a good pickup for Swindon. And I think in a league where there's not many D, I think most teams would take Luke Johnson as a D man in their roster.
I think, Dan, the thing that impressed me most about Luke, actually, considering he's never played D, well, he played it a bit at Peterborough, but he's always been a forward, is how comfortable he is on the puck. And also, he's not afraid to put his body in. I actually think he would drop the gloves with anyone. He'd probably get smoked by a few people. I think I remember a few seasons ago he dropped the gloves with Stepanek, and Stepanek's about 6'7", or it might have been Jameson, but Jameson was about 6'3", 6'4". But Luke Johnson's not afraid to throw his body around, is he, Dan?
No, he's not. He's a fiery boy.
Yeah,
He's fun to watch anyway. But yeah, he came into the season with like a few question marks over his head because obviously you're like, oh, he's and never really played D. You don't really know what you're gonna get. But I think he looks quite comfortable in that position. Obviously you can definitely see where he could be useful in a forward position.
Oh, penalty
But
killing is something which I thought he was best at Swindon, Charlie. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, him and Floyd Taylor were one of the best
Oh,
penalty units I've seen.
I missed that penalty kill. Carry on, Dan.
he's so strong on his skates, like you say, he's hard to knock off the puck. For a little guy, he'll get into the corners, he'll get into the battles, he'll stand up for his team. Yeah, he's just. I think it'll be interesting. I don't think they'll go with him as a forward, but I think they'll still carry on with him in D
Mm.
because he obviously shows he can do it, and he'll want to grow on that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and he knows what he's going to get from him.
Yeah, he's had that season now, and a lot of people questioned it with Bedbris. He had that season. I thought he was even better last season at D, and I thought it worked really, really well. And I think Luke Johnson's only going to improve as a D man because he's had that full season with it. And then the other player who I think's a really good one for the dressing room, Charlie. You absolutely loved his Instagram post of him re-signing. Is Tyler Perry. He brings happiness to the dressing room, and when he stepped in, I thought he did a really, really good job in net. I thought he looked much better than he was at Bristol, and I think when that goalkeeping duo of him and Rennie Marr, they just seem to have a good connection, and they know that Rennie is the starter and he's going to be playing most of the games. But when Tyler does come in, when Rennie's not had the greatest game, I think Tyler's actually been quite solid, Charlie.
Yeah, I was chatting to Rennie and Tyler at the end of season party, and they are nutters together. They love each other. And that's what you want. You want a goalie duo which gets along.
Yeah.
And like Rennie said to me, he's like, I want Tyler to play. I like seeing Tyler do well, and I think Rennie and Tyler get along really well. He helps bring Rennie's calm, relaxed side out of him, and yeah, he's a fun backup, and as shown on the Instagram, he's got good personality. He's funny,
Yeah.
and I think probably the goalie backups are probably some of the funniest players in hockey because
Yeah.
they know they're not going to play many games. They may play some during the season, so that they're in the dressing room and they're the ones cracking the jokes and being the annoying player and doing the pranks and stuff like that. And I think Tyler Perry's excellent at that. And I think he's such a funny personality. I thought that was class. I thought it was a
Yeah.
class act.
If you haven't seen it, he's basically got his full hockey gear on. He does DJing, so go check out. I think he's done a couple tracks as well. But he's got his full goalie suit on and he's playing Guess Who's Back? Back again. But yeah, fair play to him. He obviously doesn't care about people judging him, and I think it's a solid backup to have in this league. And I think on many times, he shocked a lot of people last season when he come in
He's good,
into
yeah.
the net.
Him and Luke. I think a lot of the signings for Swindon shocked people.
Yeah,
I
I
think Luke
think with all
Johnson was better than people thought he would be. I
yeah
think Tyler Perry was better than people thought he would be. So yeah, fair play to the two of them. I thought they were good. I thought they're solid additions. I think they're good depth pieces, and yeah, I'm happy to have them back.
Yeah, welcome back, Perry. I'm glad he's back. Hull made a new signing, and we're not seeing too many new signings, but Hull have made a new one, and we've actually had him on the podcast, Callum McGill. And he is a very defensive D man. He said himself, and penalty killing is his speciality, and I think that's something which is going to be key for Hull to take the minutes off Declan Barmer down. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
It was quite a
it's
surprise when
quite
I
yeah, it's
saw it.
out of nowhere actually.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't think of how many times I've said it, but their biggest issue was their defensive depth last season, and that was the thing that they were missing. They were missing that depth, and like now you've signed him, you won't have Balmer, and obviously Buff on you, but he's not there. You won't have Balmer playing 50 minutes a game. Like he's going to be able to rest now.
Yeah.
Like you can actually roll them three defensive lines. You've got three solid lines coming along there in D, and obviously with the goaltender behind them as well, they're definitely lining up for a very top squad next season.
He fits in to the whole way of playing. I remember he said, I'll put my face in front of the puck. I don't even care. I'll lose a few teeth. And he also said he'll fight anyone. He doesn't care. So he's just got that I don't care mentality. I'm going to put my body on the line for the team. I know that I'm not going to be the top point scoring defenseman. And I think he's also going to learn a lot off Phillips as well. I think having Phillips in that team is going to improve the likes of Stubley, is going to improve the likes of Callum McGill. And I think that's another reason why Callum's joined, because they've got a GB international who's played over 10 years in the Elite League in Davy Phillips. So I
Dan,
think that's a very good signing. Charlie, go on.
Dan, do you remember what I said when they signed Callum McGill?
No.
What I said that he's genuinely, for me, a very, very underrated signing from Hull. And
Wait, we don't use that phrase of underrated a lot, do we? We don't really use that. Go on,
You
Charlie.
do, I don't. But yeah, the reason I say that is because their D is quite offensive. Stubley likes to attack a lot. Barry likes to attack a lot. All of them boys. And them getting a defensive defenseman who just focuses on penalty killing is huge for them. Who's 21, who's young. Genuinely, I think this signing's huge. This is what Hull needed. They needed depth and defense. I didn't know who they were going to go for. I was looking around thinking, I thought, oh, he's a Scot. He'll stay in Solway. But they've managed to pinch him off him, and I think this is a very, very good pickup. And if you want to win leagues, if you want to win cups, you need good third pair D men, and I think this is one of them.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I think it's a different kind of player in that defence for Hull. And fair play to Matty Davies. That's some good scouting to get into his team. He clearly knows what he wants. I just want to say one of my favourite moments on this podcast. I got it saved on my phone. It makes me laugh every single time. It's when we were doing our pre-season things and we go through each team. We must have said each episode we must have picked out 3 or 4 players and we go, I think they're so underrated. And Charlie goes, I'll try and find this clip and edit it, but he goes, you know what? I don't really say this often, but this player is so underrated. And then I just started giggling. So I'm gonna have to put it in because it is so funny. But sorry, I'll stop laughing. Let's move on to the Peterborough Phantoms because they've done a bit of business. They have obviously Markey left, so he's a youngster. Obviously, I think he's going to try and look at some game time, possibly in the league below. Because I think the level of that league is going to be quite high. But they have signed Naston on a 3-year deal, and he did get some opportunities last season, didn't he, Dan? I think he's actually scored a couple goals. 3 years, and that just tells you all you need to know about signing in Peterborough as a young player, doesn't it?
Yeah, and obviously Slava must see something in him as well because otherwise he wouldn't even offer him that
Yeah, exactly.
3-year
Yeah,
contract. He's definitely obviously very young still.
he's
He's
quite
he's
small
got
as well.
yeah he is small. He's a little pocket rocket. Sort of like a Morgan Clark Kizo.
Yeah, no, yeah.
He's yeah he'll stay on them that fourth line probably just grinding, just skating. He won't stop skating. He'll probably go into the ball battles. But yeah, he's got so much development to do, and I'm sure Slava's got a little pathway for him
Yeah,
because obviously players you've had on have said he has like one-to-ones with a lot of players. So
yeah,
he's definitely sort of probably given him a pathway and said, "This is what we want to get from you in after these 3 years."
yeah.
And obviously Naston's obviously agreed with it, and yeah, what an exciting coach to be under.
I love it. I love how many players are signing these multi-year deals. It just proves that they love playing in this league, and that's why I love this league so much. I love all these
And
deals
and
going on.
look at the two teams that have done most of them, Telford and
Telford,
Phantoms.
Peterborough, and Swindon have
It's
done a few as well. To be fair,
yeah, but it's just Tommy Watkins and Slava. They're just you can't ever knock them for what they're doing with their Brits and their young players.
we people must get bored of us bigging them two up every single episode. Charlie, I'm going to come to you on this one. Nathan Salem announced this evening to the Peterborough Phantoms, and I think we knew that he was going to go to Peterborough. And that is a fantastic signing again. And go on, do you want to tell us what Norton said when we interviewed him? And I think this is really showing with the signings they've made.
Well, they want to win the league, but good luck. Yeah, that's Weldon's replacement.
Yeah.
I still think the league's going to be tough. Leeds are just signed Bissonnette and Barron, but good luck. Like I said, any team to beat Leeds to the league is going to be tough. But I think Peterborough putting a good squad together. Lackinen looks good. They got import Netty, another import to come in. I'd like to think Salem will be on the third line, but we'll see. I think he'd be a good third line piece for Peterborough. Something maybe they need on the third line. Salem, I could see a Salem, Hunt, and Palmer line. I really like the sound of that. So yeah, I think Peterborough made some sound pickups so far. Lackinen, Palmer, and Salem. So yeah, Peterborough working their little magic. And
the import Netty, I think it's huge, man. I really do.
we'll see. Because is the import Netty going to be as good as Sam Gospel? That's a question.
Yeah, it'd be
Like,
interesting.
these are the questions. Is the important Netty going to be as good as Headley? Is the important Netty going to be as good as Jordan Marr? Like,
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
know. So there is some stuff lying on him, but can Peterborough stay fit the full year?
Mm.
Like last year, if Peterborough were
I,
fully fit the whole year, they would have finished higher.
I think they do have a lot of more depth this season, though, and I think that is quite big for them.
They did
The amount
start last year off with a lot of depth.
they did, yeah.
They had Martin Susters stop playing 19 games in. They had Cyrus Ennis getting band problems. No, Cyrus Ennis joined halfway through the season. Duncan Spears,
Injuries to Robson, yeah. There was loads of stuff. I don't think
Barron
personally
broke his
they'll get
hand.
as I don't think they'll get as unlucky as last season with the amount of injuries, and the fact they still come away with the playoffs was quite something. The last couple of signings, Solway announced Lewis Young, and again he's a young player, which is going to be developing in Solway. He's a Scottish lad. I think again that's just another player which they've re-signed, which they have trusted, and I think he is good enough for this level. So I think
Yeah.
that is a pretty good signing. What's
And
that, Charlie?
congrats to the Scots on the Euros. Good start, lads. Only lost 5-1. I won't see you around the knockout stages.
It was funny. It is banter though, and we love banter, even when it's football. So yeah, hold that 5-1.
What do you think of young Dan?
Yeah, I think now he's at the NIHL, first season in the NIHL. I think he's going to be a lot better, proving what he's worth.
He scored some filthy goals actually, some highlight reel goals I saw on their Twitter.
Yeah, it's just one of them guys that just know he's going to do a job. You know what I mean? He's nothing special. He's doesn't do anything like snazzy. He just does it and gets on with it.
Yeah,
he's not a bad player. I think it'd be interesting to see what new players Solway signed. He got 15 points in 50 games. He's only 21, first year in the National League. Maybe looking to get half a point a game this year, that sort of level. So yeah, he's a good depth piece, but it'd be interesting to see where Solway improve. Not having Craig.
Yeah, the additions will be important.
Yeah, I forgot
be.
about that, Charlie, because they announced it right at the start, and that completely went away from my mind. They won't have Peacock. That is quite a big boot to fill, and I know a lot of links were going around with County, but that's not been confirmed. And I know he was linked to MK as well, but they will have to try and find a player to fill in for Peacock because he got so many assists last season as well. Peacock.
Yeah, like touching on Solway, they signed Callum Hepburn, Jordan Marr, good goalie tandem.
Yeah, Mars very big.
Yeah, that's huge.
Arsenal, BT, Dansking, Stenton. That could be their top four at their D core. Yeah. That's genuinely solid. So it's good that they've got a good D in front of their goalie. I reckon they'll pick up one D man we don't expect as well. And then their forward core is Mason Alderson and Callie Robertson, who you'd expect to be in their top six. And then you've got Kieran Hier and Lewis Young. So you've got two third liners probably there. Maybe one of them will break into the top six, but I would be surprised. But sometimes you've got to give players opportunities when maybe you don't have options. But they've got Callie Robertson, Mason Alderson. I'd like to think Dunbar will be back. They'll get another import. So that's probably 4 of their top 6. And then I'm just going to put something out there. I may be completely wrong, but Leeds are yet to re-sign Matt Hayward. I wouldn't be shocked if Matt Hayward ended up in Solway.
Ooh, cheeky little insider from Charlie. No, I'm joking. We genuinely don't know anything about. We just make rumors up. We talk about hockey literally. I'd say 80% of the day, and then the 20% is when we're not actually speaking. So whenever
that's when we're sleeping.
Yeah, so we're literally making rumors up left, right, and centre. So don't take our word for it. But no, I can actually see that, Charlie.
But I think they would have announced him by now, because he's just part of furniture. But if he wanted to reduce some travel, Scotland's it's the only team in Scotland in the National League.
Looking for a big sentiment, so
you want the double twice, and that would be Craig Peacock's replacement. Like that would be what they need. I still think Solway have got an ace up their sleeve. But yeah, I actually think Young will get like half a point in a game this year. Going
What,
back,
25 to 30 points a game?
I think he'll get 20 to 25 this year from 15.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what you're looking to get. Just improve every
probably a
season.
third line.
One player,
Then
one
play-
player I linked to is Jasper Foster, and his first season, and then the second season he got a little bit more, and then the next season, same with Reed Sayers. It just takes a few seasons for these players to get used to the league and try and battle into that top six. So yeah, we haven't really spoken much on Solway, but they haven't made too many signings. I think they make one a week at the moment. So they're spacing it out. They're giving the attention to the fans, which is what I like. And the final signing is an MK signing. And that is Rio Grinnell Park, who was injured for the majority of last season. I think he played 20 odd games. We know what he can do at this level. I think his best attribute is his pace, getting in behind, chipping in, stealing the pucks off some defensemen, getting on them breakaways, and his forechecking's really good as well. Dan, it'll be interesting to see if, now that he is fit, that he gets the game time and gets that opportunity.
Yeah, it'd be good to see what it'd be like if he did get a full season under his belt.
Yeah.
He's a perfect player for that MK rink because he just won't stop skating and he'll just skate around for games and games and games. Yeah, his career's been a bit weird. He's not really like popped off at a team. He's just sort of moved on and just got like a few points, you know what I mean? But like we said, he has had a few injury problems and he's probably been a bit unlucky with his career. So yeah, next season he's probably going to be hoping for an injury-free season and yeah, get some points on the board.
Yeah, they also did sign Ollie Booth. He's like a third choice keeper who's going to be on a two-way with the D-side Dragons. So again, they're just getting in a young goalie because last season we did see Headley get injured, Curling come in, and then they need that backup keeper. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he gets a couple opportunities, but he will be on a two-way. And the final thing I wanted to leave with, which I thought was pretty cool, a bit of elite leagues news. The Fife Flyers have signed the Kazakh trio, and I've heard you two want to take the trip up north to Fife to have a look at what it's like up there, the traditional ice hockey arena. That Kazakh trio, they look pretty cool, don't they, Charlie?
Yeah, but I'm only going to Fife for one reason, and that is Craig Balfour. He's the boy. I want to watch the Fife. What's the team name?
Flyers.
Fife Flyers.
No, the team Craig Balfour plays for.
Oh, Cody Kess. No, Hawks. Some Hawks.
The Fife Hawks. So let's call them that.
No, Cody Hawk. I don't know. Some Hawks in it. I know that.
And
he's
then,
a Fife, but for context, you're saying it without context. He's a Fife fan. Who do you play NHL with?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you play.
He thinks he's good at NHL.
He plays in real life. He's a centre.
Is he on Elite Prospects?
No, he plays beer league, but
he might be linked to Solway. You never know. There's another rumor.
But yeah,
he's gonna be the new Craig Peacock.
Yeah, Fife have signed a Kazakh trio,
the Kazakhstan line does look sick.
Yeah,
I'd quite like to do a trip up to Solway. Maybe when Swindon have an away game there and do like a Fife at home game.
You do realise Fife is like another 3-4 hours from Solway.
Yeah, Solway's hardly in Scotland, mate.
Yeah, but Dan, how long did a 5-hour journey feel when I was talking the whole way?
Yeah.
About 10 minutes.
Oh, dear. Right. We have got the interview of Dylan Lipsey. I'm interviewing him tomorrow, so we'll cut to that now, and we hope you enjoy that little interview. Hello and welcome back. We've got a special interview. We've got Dylan Lipsey. I have actually interviewed you before, but it was for my project. So This is the first time you're on the podcast. How's the off season going? I know you've got training tonight.
Yeah, not too bad. It's going pretty well. Enjoying the rest, but looking forward to getting back to it.
How many times are you training a week then, obviously, on the ice pad?
It's once a week right now because the under-18s doesn't finish till like the end of June, so trying to make as much of it as I can. But yeah.
And let's talk about the under-18s first then. They had some success last season. Do you want to tell us about what went down last season with the under-18s team? Because I think did they win the league last season?
Yeah, we won the league 2 years in a row unbeaten, and then we finally won nationals.
Oh, nice.
But I've probably been to Sheffield at least 8 times for nationals, and we've never ever won it.
Yeah.
Come fourth, third, second. But this year, my last year in juniors, we finally won it.
Oh, nice. That must have been a nice little ending with some of the boys as well.
Yeah, yeah. I've played with most of them, probably half of them for about, when did I start? I probably started when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 years, and we've
Wow.
never really won anything. So it was pretty special.
You had a few of them. It was you, Josh, Alfie as well,
Yeah.
Sammy, all in the team. What was the score in the final?
The score in the final was 2-1.
Oh,
And
nice.
so, yeah, we were winning one. We went up right at this 1-0 right at the start of the second.
Yeah,
And they were all over us. And
really.
we were just struggling. Then it went to, I think it was 1-1.
Yeah.
Then Josh Burnett scored with
Oh,
like
nice.
5 minutes left or something like that. And then we just stuck with it.
Nice one. I will talk about him in a minute because I did want to bring him up. But obviously the news come out a couple of weeks ago that the NIHL, the Swindon NIHL two team was accepted into the National League One, and your name was on the roster. How
Yeah.
excited are you to be part of that team and hopefully having a two-way with a team in the National League as well?
Yeah, I think it's really good what Swindon are doing, like especially for players like me, Alfie, and
Yeah,
even some of the other guys on the under 18s team and the up and coming like kids younger than me. I used to be
yeah,
that age, watching my brother
yeah.
play men's and seeing how fast it is. But yeah, it's really exciting.
Um, Obviously you played the men's last season, and there's actually been a lot of names dropped down to the National League One. You got Aaron Connolly, you got Harvey Stead, Doughty, Brendan Baird, and then you've obviously got some studs for Streatham and Invicta. But Swindon have put together a nice little team, haven't they?
Yeah, I think it's really good. Like the amount of players we've signed, I didn't think that many players would come to Swindon, but
Yeah.
after I seen the team in like earlier on in the summer, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, as there's a couple old boys who we recognise. Obviously, Neversel's joined. Ollie Stone's back as well. I know he's had a couple troubles of injuries, but it seems like
Yeah,
a nice little bunch of the youth team from that under 18s team which you talked about,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you've
yeah.
got some older players as well to bring experience. That's going to be a positive thing for yourself and some of those
Mm,
younger lads.
yeah. And it's good to see the leagues like constantly improving. Like with
Yeah,
some of these guys dropping down the league, that's just only going to make like young players like me even better.
yeah,
Same with like we've got Jack Liddamore, Cal Forshy, Little Jan Costello,
yeah.
and so yeah,
Yeah, it's looking like a decent little. What is Jan like, actually? I know he's named after his dad, and we know his dad, Jan Costal, from Captain
yeah.
of Swindon. But what's he like? Is he a bit similar to his dad, or is he a bit different?
I'd say Yanni's quite different. I'd say
Really?
Yanni's quite like quiet, yeah, but he's a really good kid. But
Yeah.
with his dad, I think his dad will help out a little bit with the NL1 team and
Oh,
for
nice.
some of the players. So
And I've
yeah,
seen we've not stolen, but we've taken a few of the Oxford boys as well,
yeah,
which is pretty cool. And I think it's always going to be competitive, but when Swindon have that pathway to the main team as well in the NIHL, I
mm,
think Swindon's always going to be on top, isn't they?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's good to see that some of the Oxford players were like heading over because some of their best players came. So
Yeah,
that's just going to make
Osman
us.
looks like a tiny
Yeah,
little player, doesn't he?
Osman's really good, and I've heard he's really good like with the younger guys.
Yeah,
So with that amount of experience in the team, that should be really good for us.
yeah. Let's talk a bit about last season then. Your first season in the men's league. Oh no, was it second season?
So
It
my
was your first full season, wasn't it?
yeah, it's my first full season. Yeah.
How did you find your first full season? And we'll get to your goal in a second, but how did you find it obviously stepping up? Because I have to say, from your stint in that first time you played in there, Nightchild, to last
Mm.
season, I think I already saw you matured as a player and you focused on a lot of the simple things. Would you say that's what you tried to add last season?
Yeah, I would say like knowing my role is what
Yeah.
I was trying to do. Like as a young guy, you just gotta use all your energy,
Mm.
work hard every shift, just like me and Shawsy trying to do last year. But
Yeah.
obviously with what happened at the start of the year, I don't think many teams can say they've
Yeah.
managed to get through that. And
So we haven't I think we've spoke to Josh and Bally, but we haven't really spoke to many players about that. And
mm,
how was it for you, obviously being a young lad, not getting those home games close to home? You're on
mm,
the road all the time with the boys. Do you think in some ways it was quite good because it got the team spirit together, but in other ways it was quite difficult because you weren't able to play at home?
yeah, I think it brought the team like quite close together. To be honest,
Yeah.
how strong we were, and we just sort of just dealt with it. We didn't really think of it too much. Obviously, the traveling for training was sort of like getting a bit, oof.
Yeah.
But there was nothing we could have really done, but we just done it because we love hockey.
And how did you find the season last season? Obviously, we had that tough bit at the start, but how did you find it as a whole? And Aaron's re-signed a lot of the team from last season, pretty much everyone. So I think that speaks levels on the group of players that he had.
Yeah, exactly that. The players, I can't describe all of them, but they were great. Like how like welcoming they were. But because obviously I've only ever played in Swindon, but
Yeah.
I've never really met a team like that welcoming.
Yeah, and Whitfield as well. Obviously, he's retired now. You did get a full season with him before he retired,
Yeah,
and it was his final season. Obviously, we've been on the bus a couple times because they let a few fans on the bus at the start.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
how big of a miss is he going to be going into next season, on the ice and also off the ice?
Not even just as a player, but as a person, I've
Mm,
never met anyone quite like Stevie.
yeah,
And for like a young guy, seeing how hard he works, and when he just in his last ever season, they're just going to push me, Jamie, Shawsey, especially all the young guys on. But yeah, he was incredible.
yeah, and Jamie is someone who's come up with yourself, obviously Alfie as well. He's got
Yeah,
some game time as well, but Jamie Smith, he has impressed me and my brother so much. What is so
yeah,
special about him, which some of the fans don't see, because he just seems like he's been playing the game for
yeah,
for 10 plus years, but he's literally 18 years old.
yeah. I've played with Jamie for since I started, and I remember when he first started as a forward,
Yeah.
and then
Did he? He
he
started, he started as forward, did he?
yeah, he first started
Oh
as a
wow.
forward for the first few years, and then I think his dad talked him into changing to a D man, and then that's when people start to realize how good he was becoming, and then when he made the jump up to men's hockey, then that's now he's peaking.
Yeah, he is. I hope soon to re-sign him. He's a very, very good player.
Yeah.
Looking at some of the rinks then you played in last season, some of the teams, what was some of your favourite games which you played in? I'll get to one in a second, which I'm sure you're going to say, but what were some of your favourite games to play in last season?
um, rink wise, I'd say I like Milton Keynes because it's like
Yeah,
just I've never played, even though it's not actually that much bigger. It just
yeah,
feels so much bigger. It feels
yeah.
like it feels like an Olympic size rink. But team wise, obviously, I'm gonna say Bristol because I playing against Mason. But yeah, Bristol. What other ones are there? I actually like playing against Peterborough.
Really?
Not away, at home I do
I,
because I thought we had some really good games against them.
I remember that it was the last game of the season, and talk us through it because how penalty killing. It was you. Was it Josh Shaw,
Yeah, I think it's me,
Jamie
Josh.
Smith, and Josh Burnett
Yeah,
penalty killing against their top line, and you killed I think it was a minute and a half of that power play right at the end. Talk us through that because you must have got about 15, 20 minute ice time in that game.
yeah. It was really good. I didn't really expect it when Aaron told us all to get out there. I was a bit like, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Look who they've got." But we just knew what we had to do. But I guess we just played it the right way.
Yeah, and let's talk a bit about Aaron before we get onto your goal. What's Aaron been like for you as a head coach? Obviously, slowly bringing you into that team, giving the opportunities when you can, and obviously that Peterborough game was a prime example. And I think the Bristol game as well, which you made
Mm.
a big impact in. He obviously had the trust to throw you out there.
Yeah, Aaron's worked with me a lot over like the last 2 years. In my first year of men's hockey, I was training in the mornings.
Oh, nice.
So there's some morning training session, and that's when Aaron would focus on me. But yeah, he's been great. He's put a lot of trust in me over the last few months of the remaining season. But yeah, I can't thank him enough.
Yeah. The goal then. You obviously get thrown out there. I think Swindon were losing at the time. I think it was 2-1 to Bristol at the time.
Yeah.
You get thrown out with was it Shawsey
It was
was it
Shawsey and Bully.
and
Yeah,
Bully?
yeah.
Talk us through your goal then.
I think what made that even better was that Mason was on the ice. he tried telling me I didn't score the goal, but once I sent him the video, he quieted down a bit. But yeah, I guess I was just in the right spot, right time. But it was all came from Shawsey. Shawsey working
Yeah.
hard, and he just popped out to me.
Yeah, popped out to you, gave it a little sally as well. What's it like then playing against your brother? Because obviously there's not too many brother rivalries in the NIHL. A lot of them actually play on the same team. The Bairds played on the same team. The Steads,
Yeah,
they played the same team. What's it like playing against Mason?
yeah. This year was the first time I ever played against him because
Oh,
he's
yeah, I
like,
remember you saying actually, because last
yeah,
year you never
yeah.
got the. Yeah, yeah,
He's always been too old. He's like 5 years older than me.
yeah.
So whenever I'm out there with him, it's just great. It's like going up for a face off with him, I love it. But he always wins. He's lucky, very lucky.
Hey, he's got 5 years ahead of you. So, is there any chirping going on as well when you're on the ice?
Chirping on the ice, chirping behind the scenes in the house. But nah, but it's just I love playing against him.
And obviously, your dad's a Wildcat legend, Daryl. What's his influence been like in bringing you up playing hockey and kind of molding you into the player which you are?
In my first few years, he was coaching me,
Yeah,
and as he coached my brother like his whole junior career. But then he took a step back and was like, I just want to watch. But
mm,
he just sort of lets me crack on with it, and he'll talk to me before the games and after the games. But yeah, he's been great.
yeah. Obviously, I know
Yeah,
you. I know you guys live quite close to us, and you got your
yeah,
hockey goal
yeah,
outside as well. I think that's quite good
yeah.
though, because you don't want as much as you want your dad there with you. You don't want him to be putting loads of pressure on you, and he's kind of giving you a bit of freedom to kind of do what you want as well. Like
Yeah,
you are
yeah,
your own
yeah,
player. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what he wants. To be honest, he doesn't want to be. He sort of wants to pull out of it a bit and just let it like the focus be on me and Mason. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and he's come to quite a few games as well. Was he at the
yeah,
game where you scored?
yeah. He was loving it.
I bet you gave Mason a bit of stick.
Yeah,
Let's look ahead finally to next season. Then, obviously, you haven't been announced at a team yet. I'm sure you know where you're playing. But you're obviously signed up for the Wildcats 2 team. There's
yeah,
36 games next season in that league. And I think there's gonna be I think that makes 18 at home, 18 away. So there's going
yeah,
to be a lot
yeah.
of games. I think we'll see a lot of Wildcats fans actually go to the games on the Sunday. How excited are you to be playing in that league? Obviously, we mentioned some of the players which are going to be in it.
Yeah, it should be good with all the players coming down and some players even bringing in like some of the young guys. But the league just seems to be getting better and better. But 36 games, that's probably the most I've ever played in
Yeah.
any of my seasons. But should be good. I've just got to prepare for it in the summer and just be ready for it.
What kind of stuff are you doing to prepare for next season?
Um, Mainly off ice stuff. I'm trying to get a bit bigger, trying to
Yeah.
get a bit faster. But I guess age comes with that. But
Yeah, exactly
just
that.
trying to do the most I can.
I'm going to end with this question. You're 18 years old now. You got the cage off now, yeah, or not?
Yeah, next year I will be wearing a visor. Yeah, I don't know if many of the other young guys are going to be wearing a visor, but I will be. Yeah,
And you, Shawsey and I think Jamie. Did Jamie say he's going to be taking his visor off?
he says he's going to be taking his cage off, but I don't believe him. I'll believe it when I see it.
Sorry, cage. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then Shawsey, I don't think he's taking his cage off.
I don't know. He hasn't really said too much about it, but I guess come the opening of the season, I guess we'll all find out.
Yeah. Oh, Dylan, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Have a good training session, and
Thank you.
wherever you go next season, we'll be supporting you.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back. Charlie has just left the call early. He's not even going to say goodbye. He's not even going to be part of the outro. He's just left. Dan, you didn't leave. Is there anything you wanted to end with apart from that Charlie is a part timer?
I think Charlie's a fake, and I think he needs to be taken off, and I
Yeah.
think the name needs to be changed. Yeah, I think we just don't let him on ever again.
Or should we just replace him with Dad?
Or maybe,
We could
maybe
just
that's probably
replace
the
him with
better.
Ian. Yeah,
Yeah,
to be fair, we could just
why not?
replace him with Ian. At least Ian doesn't just have a massive bias towards Swindon and
That is true,
Lipsey. So
and that's another Father's Day present for you guys as well. So
yeah.
yeah, let's
Oh,
get
he's
him on.
coming in
Why not?
now. Didn't even want to be part of the outro, did he?
Here's the goat.
Anything to say before we end?
Panthers in 5.
So, he knows, as you can see there, I'm an Oilers fan. Right, we're waffling way too much. Hopefully the Oilers can make the victorious comeback. We hope you've liked this episode. It's been a bit wacky. It is currently 11 o'clock at night. I am going on holiday this week, so we might not get an episode for like a week and a half because I am in Tenerife. But we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one where hopefully there'll be even more news of the NIHL. Peace.
See you later.